Okay, let's take a look at a question regarding what we call a cost of production report. And I do want to say a couple of things before we get started. Number one, this is a situation where we have no beginning inventories. Now, if you are needing to fill out a cost of production report where you have beginning inventories and you are using the FIFO method, I would probably recommend a different video for you because this is more of a very much a beginner level video for cost of production reports. And we're going to be using something called the weighted average method. I've got some other videos on the FIFO method, but I don't have a lot in, I don't have anything on weighted average because it's generally considered an inferior method. But I wanted to have something out there. So couple again, weighted average method easier than FIFO, and no beginning inventories is another component of this question that makes it a little bit more manageable. So if you're needing something more significant, there are videos out there uh, that are a little bit more challenging. Okay, but this is a good starting place uh, for us. So it says how paving company manufactures asphalt materials for highway construction through a one-step process in which all materials are added at the beginning of the process. Now, this is very, very important information here. We need to know when materials are added, and it's generally easier if materials for whatever it is we're making are added at the beginning of the process. That's not always the case, but hopefully you won't have to do anything where that's not the case. Um, During April, the company accumulated the following data in its process costing system. Okay, so just as the title up here indicates, we have no beginning work in process. Raw materials transferred to processing are 25,000 tons. Work in process at the end of the month, uh, where we have 75% conversion, is 5,000 tons. And then we have some data here as far as the cost. So let's slow down for just a moment. I want to come back up here to this area right here. And it says that raw materials transferred to processing and then work in process at the end of the month, 75% converted. When we're dealing with a cost of production report in process costing, we have to separate our costs into materials costs and then what we call conversion costs. And conversion costs are direct labor and manufacturing overhead. And we have that information right here on the screen, and they've given us our direct labor cost incurred. What we want to recognize right off the bat is this work in process. We've got 5,000 tons. Remember what it says. All of the materials are added at the beginning of the process. So we're going to have to kind of separate this out into, these 5,000 units are not complete. That's true. They're only 75% complete. But now, as far as materials are concerned, they're all the way there. It's just that direct labor and manufacturing overhead that's 75% completed. So they give us the direct cost, or I'm sorry, direct labor cost incurred, and then it looks like we're going to have to solve for manufacturing overhead applied. And we can't do that in this box. There's no way to enter that information. But we've got the information that we need right here for later. It says manufacturing overhead is applied at a rate of $6 per equivalent unit, in this case, ton processed. Okay, so we've got our cost of production report, and then we say equivalent units in process, materials, conversion, and then in some cases we're going to have to total these items up. So let's see here. Units completed. Well, we had no beginning inventory, so this makes it a little bit easier. We started working on 25,000, and then we did not get finished with 5,000. So 25 minus 5 is 20. And so we can say units completed. Well, it's not 20, but it's 20,000. And these are the units that are completely and totally ready to go. They're heading to finished goods inventory. Okay, so that's just merely the difference between the 5,000 that are not all the way complete and the 25,000 that are complete. And then it says plus equivalent units in ending inventory for both materials and for conversion costs. So because we had that little tidbit right up here that the materials are added at the beginning of the process, we know that these 5,000 tons are 100% complete as to materials, so we can just enter in 5,000. However, we can't do that over here on the conversion side because they're only 75% complete as to conversion. So we have to take this 5,000 and we're going to multiply it by 0.75. And so we would say that we have 5,000 equivalent units as to materials and 3,750 equivalent units as to conversion. So equivalent units in process, well, all we have to do is just add these. 20 and 5 is hopefully we can figure out that's 25,000. And then we've already got the 3750 on the calculator, so I'm just going to add this 20,000 here to it. Gives us 23,750. Yep. Okay. Beginning work in process, recall we didn't have any, so we should be able to just come right on through here. And one more 0. Enter those zeros in. Okay. Now, current costs, we're provided with the amount for materials right here. So we can just enter that in. That was 325, I think. Let me go back and make sure. Yeah, 325,000. But now conversion cost. We have to do a little bit of work here to get this figure. We are provided with this $23,750 in direct labor costs. And then somewhat ironically, we have exactly 23,750 equivalent units in work in process as to conversion. And then notice that we are applying overhead at a rate of $6 per equivalent unit time processed. Somebody calculated this $6 and they're just giving it to us. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to take this $6 and I'm going to multiply it by these 23,750 equivalent conversion units. Let's see here, 23,750. And that gives me 142.5. Then I'm going to add to that the actual direct labor cost of 23,750. And I get 166,250. And then I can just merely add this 325,000 right here to that to get my total current costs. So that is 491,250. Oops. Now let's see here. Let's back up here. 491,250. Perfect. Okay. So total cost in process, then we're basically just going to be, normally if we had a beginning work in process, we would actually be adding some numbers, and we technically are. We're adding all of these numbers to 0. So all we have to do is drop these down. Normally you wouldn't have the same answers here in these boxes, but because we didn't have any beginning inventory, then it's the same thing. So what we're doing here, because the question that you have in your class may be a little bit different. It may have there may have been a beginning work in process. Let's say that just hypothetically this was, $10,000 here. Well, then this would be 335 in this box here. And then let's say that beginning conversion costs were 4,000. Well, then we would take the 4,000 plus this, and we would end up with like 170,250, and then we would add straight across. These numbers, again, I know I've said it. This is the third time. The only reason these numbers are identical is because these numbers here in beginning work in process are 0. All right, so it says equivalent units in process. Well, we got we have the 20,000 that we made up here, and then we also have the 5,000 here, and we can actually use these two figures and just drop them down. And then same thing over here. It actually tells us this equivalent units in process, and so it's all we're doing is just dropping this number down here, the 20,000 plus the 3,750. Okay. And then they want a cost per equivalent unit in process. Well, that should be fairly simple. We're just going to take the three. We are going to break this down into two parts: a cost for materials and a cost for conversion. So let's see here now. Materials cost was 325,000 divided by 25,000 equivalent units as to materials gives us $13 materials cost per unit. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, okay, 166,250, that's my conversion cost. And I'm going to divide that by the 23,750, the 20,000 that were fully completed, as well as the 3,750 equivalent units as to conversion. So let's see here, divide by 23,750 equals 7. And then we're just going to add these two numbers together and come up with 20. Okay, I'm not going to put that on the calculator. I think you can add 13 and 7. So what is our cost transferred out? Well, we finished in full 20,000 units at a cost of $20 a piece. So that means transferred out to finished goods is going to be 400,000. And then for our conversion cost, let's see here. We've got the same, we're just dropping these numbers down, but we have to say, okay, how many do we have? So let's see here now. We had 5,000. We had 5,000 units in ending work in process inventory at $13. So let's see here. This is for materials. 5,000 times 13. Okay, give us $65,000. And then for, let's see what happened there. And then, so let's see here now. For conversion, we've got 3,750 units times 7 right here. So 26,250. Okay. And so our total cost in ending work in process is going to be these two numbers together. So I've got this on the calculator already. I'm just going to add 65,000 to that. Comes to 91,250. And then all I have to do, total cost accounted for, is just the sum of these. So 91,250 on top of 400,000. Again, I think we can do this without a calculator, I hope. There it is. Okay. And then we've got our little checkbox here. So let's make sure that I don't think I could have made a mistake there. But notice all of our answers are in fact right. So that's great and everything. I just want to say a couple things here. Notice our total costs in process are 491,250, and then we accounted for those. Um, we've got 400,000 of that went to finished goods, and then we have 91,250 that's still in work in process at the end of the period. Now, this could be important if you are asked for what is the dollar value of the work in process inventory at the end of the period. Okay, you could be asked for any of these numbers, including these right here. It's unlikely, for example, on an exam, that you would have to do a full cost of production report. If you do, uh, learn how to do it for sure, because it's going to be worth a lot of points. I don't generally put these on exams because they just clog up too much of the class time. But I do ask students to do parts of this, right? So I might get you from here to right here, or I may start you off here and then ask you to finish it up, something like that. So just be advised, you may not have to do the whole thing, but you might have to do parts of this. All right, this video is getting way too long. We better wrap it up. Thanks for watching.